Welcome and hello everyone. I'm Sofia de Benedictis. I'm a third-year student at the Royal Academy of Art, and I'm part of the collective Babyface. And right now we're having our show online, our exhibition. Please go visit us on babyface.space. In occasion of this exhibition, which start from the question of what is a dysfunctional system, we thought of inviting our guest, Carmen Salas. Welcome. She's a curator and a cultural producer, even though she doesn't like to call herself like this anymore. And I would like to just give a little introduction and to start this talk by reading the first paragraph of an article she wrote on May 2020. And which also inspired this talk. So here we go. The article's title is "What should we expect from art in the next few years, decades, and what is art anyway?" So I had a dream last night. In my dream, our cities, communities, and the natural environment are the museum and galleries of tomorrow. In my dream, the traditional exhibition space and art objects, material objects, no longer exist. And artists, cultural agents, and creative practitioners collaborate with citizens, communities, and professionals from other sectors, scientists, farmers, and politicians, to design better systems and to co-create activities and programs that encourage creativity and bring about social change. So I think this almost indeed sounds like a dream, or is something that is actually happening, or we can make it happen in anytime soon. So based on that, Carmen, can you tell us more about your vision, your path, how you came to this dream?
Obsession.
Yeah, to this obsession, exactly.
Okay. So hello everyone, and hi Sophia, thanks for having me here today. And well, I'm just going to introduce myself a bit more, and then I will move into talking a bit more in depth about my work. So as Sophia said, I'm a cultural producer, and I'm currently based in southern Spain. I lived and worked in London between 2005, 6 and 2019. And since 2015, I'm also spending a few months, like between 3 and 4 in Mexico City for projects and work-related reasons. I hold a BA in art history from the University of Granada in Spain, and an MA in arts policy and management from the University of London, from Birkbeck University of London. So I have over 15, 16 years experience in as a curator and cultural producer in the fields of art, technology, and digital culture. And in 2018, I founded a project in Mexico City, Connecting the Dots, which is an international forum on art, creativity, and digital culture. And between 2000, I'm very bad with years, between 2017 and 2019, I curated the Paradigm Shift Forum for the Mapping Festival in Geneva. And in 2009, I co-founded the Alphaville Festival in London, which was a festival dedicated to exploring the intersection between art, technology, society, science, and digital culture through conferences and workshops and exhibitions and concerts and audiovisual events and many, many other things. And the festival became an agency and a curatorial agency and a creative studio, I think it was in 2013. And it developed work on a national and international scale until I think it was end of 2017. As a freelancer, I have done also many projects, mainly with artists. So it was more working as an art producer. And for example, I did a few initiatives involving dance in virtual reality with a London-based artist. And I also was the creative producer of Sprint, a residency program for digital artists, dancers and choreographers, launched by Rambert Dance Company in London in 2015. So that is sort of like an overview of my bio and or my persona, my profile. And then to talk about my work, I would like to start by explaining why, when, and how I got into the fields of art and technology, digital arts and digital culture, and why I'm detaching myself from it. And also the transition that I have been experiencing, the change I have been experiencing in the past 3 years. I'm still in the middle of it. I'm still navigating it. So sometimes it's a bit challenging because I feel lost at times and I don't know where I'm heading to, and then I find the light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm still in the sort of in the process. But so anyway, the first I first got exposed to art and technology in 2006 when I was volunteering for a gallery, for a Bent gallery in London. And at the time, I had the opportunity to project manage an exhibition for American artist and new media pioneer Mark America. So the title of the exhibition was Mobile Phone Video Arts Classic, and it was an exhibition using mobile phone devices and other electronics. And so the exhibition, you know, went really well. And I had also the chance and the opportunity to involve myself in curatorial discussions with the artist and with the director of the gallery. So I absorb a lot of energy and information from, you know, from a new field, or at the time it was a new field for me. And right after that, I got immersed into a study and exploring the field of art and technology, digital arts and digital culture. And a couple of years after, I decided to put together Alphaville Festival with a friend. So the first year it was self-funded, meaning that we paid everything with our pockets. So at the time I was studying a master, I was working like crazy hours, I was volunteering, and I put together the festival. So I was basically sleeping 0 hours a day. And then the year after, we managed to get funding from Arts Council England and from a few organizations. And the reason why I got interested in this field is mainly because of 2 reasons. The first reason is because I was interested in exploring and understanding how artists could use the tools, the technology, the tools to expand the way audiences can interact and engage with art and culture in general, and also how through the use of tech, artists were able to, or are still able to change the perception and the interaction with the digital space and the physical space. The second reason, which is also really important for me, is because at the same time, I was also interested in exploring the effects and the impact on technology in society. You know, I believe that for any new technology, there should be a critical mass sort of exploring the impact, not only the possibilities for art and culture and for society, but also the effect and impact on society in our sort of behavior and even in our body and the way we act and we use the technology. So if you think about it, my interest lies in 2 sides of the spectrum. So I was interested in the more sort of in the exploration and the experimentation of the tools for creative purposes, and also to redefine the relationship between the audience and the space. But I was also interested in the impact and effect, and also the possible abuses of technology by people, meaning by us, and by tech corporations, and by companies or governments, the wrongdoings by governments using our data, controlling us with different channels. And I was also interested in looking at this sort of Silicon Valley's quest for saving the world, this idea that technology will save us. But my interest was in looking at what cost. And also, I was also interested in reflecting about the cause and effects of decentralization of power within the internet, and the impact on many levels at sociocultural, economic, environmental, and even in politics. So these two sides of the spectrum are represented in my work, from the art productions that I have done in London, mainly with, for instance, the VR, virtual reality art productions that I did mainly with dance, and then with curatorial projects like Mapping Festival, the paradigm shift from Mapping Festival, where the approach was more critical or reflected about technology. And the past 3 to 4 years, as I said before, have been a period of transformation and change for me, where I'm looking into more social, critical, and even I'm starting to look into the eco-social side of things. And in my most recent reflections, like the article I wrote in May 2020, and I have been commissioned to write another article, and I think it's going to be published in February. And also my project, the response to an interest in highlighting and also in studying the importance of artistic practice and the artist in the community, and the value of the artists and cultural institutions in the community as a tool for change, for transformation, for change, for questioning, for looking at life in a different, from a different point of view. So I'm interested in exploring with my sort of current work. I'm interested in exploring and also highlighting the capacity and the ability of art and culture. And with that, I mean institutions, artists, curators, producers, and practitioners, not only to question but to question and deconstruct the values imposed by our current economic system. And with that, I mean values of competition, accumulation, capitalism, globalization, like infinite growth on a finite planet, and etc. So the capacity to question and deconstruct those values, but also to propose new ways of looking at things, and the capacity also to reevaluate and reconfigure a new system with positive values and with respect for society, for the environment, and for one another. So that is the type of art and the type of artists and the type of institutions I'm interested in working with. And I believe that art and culture play an essential role in the eco-social transformation of societies, which is really important. It's going to become a priority for all sectors and for life in general. And I also think that art is really important and has the capacity to reveal new definitions of what progress and innovation is about, a definition that is not based on capital or money. And I also believe that artists and cultural institutions have the power to make us rethink new ways of organizing life or structuring life, and new ways of being in the world, especially in the current context and what is yet to come. And so in short, the work I'm doing now and the work I want to continue doing in the future I'm interested in looking at how through art and culture we can, and through art and culture and its relationship with other disciplines, we can, questions can be raised about the current state of society, and also proposals can be made for new ways of understanding life. I'm also very, very interested in the impact of artistic practice, and not so much about the art object or the material object. I'm also very interested in the values that an artist or the practice of an artist or a designer conveys, more than the status of an artist. And I'm not so keen or so fan of the very strict institutions. I like flexibility in my work and in the way of understanding things and looking at things. I'm also interested in the ways art and culture can join forces with other disciplines to propose new ways at looking and understanding the world. And I'm not counting the time, so if I'm
oh no, go for it, and then if I
can talk for that. So I wanted to just briefly talk about an artist that I think is very relevant to everything that we are going to be discussing today. His name is Gilberto Esparza. He's Mexican. I worked with him last year, so I invited him for the conference I ran in Mexico. And he's basically an artist interested in the social, political, and economic impact of technologies on urban spaces and on the environment. And he uses mainly low-tech and recycled technologies as a sort of like as a way of statement in order to question this same impact of technology in everyday life. So I'm just going to talk about one specific project. If you can maybe look at it online, the name is Nomadic Plants, and it's a small robot. So the project is a metaphor for the alienated human condition and the impact we make on nature and on the environment. And the work is an ongoing research, an ongoing investigation, and an ongoing experimentation created with recycled technologies. And it's a small robot, a nomadic plant that is able to move on its own. And the robot draws water from contaminated rivers, decomposes its materials, and then is able to create energy on its own, and is able to recycle water that then is able to recycle water, and is also able to create life, meaning that it facilitates for plants to grow in the structure of the robot. So Gilberto created this robot. So he created cells powered by the biological energy of the bacteria that thrive in this polluted environment. And these bioactive microorganisms are able to create energy to move the robot and then to clean the water. So for me, this work and the work of, in general, Gilberto Esparza is an example of artists working with, focusing on the harmful impact of humans on nature, and he is an example of recuperating, restoring, rejuvenating, rethinking, repairing, recycling, reusing, readaptation, regenerating, and I can continue like this for decades. So he's just one example of, again, of the artists I'm already working with, and the artists that I want to work in the future. And when I mean artists, I say people in general. And you know, it's the type of artists who they use their imagination and their creativity and their intention to inform society, to educate, to even reorganize society, and also in some ways to improve life. And I also briefly wanted to explain why I'm going through this process of transformation or change. And I suppose that by now we all understand that and agree that we are going through profound changes, whether they are social, economic, political, even personal, no? Individual. And this is not, I believe that this is not an isolated thing. It's not a one-off thing, but a series of concurrent issues and situations that have been sort of happening for some years. And I also think that, or I believe that we also understand that, things are interconnected and interrelated. Like COVID-19, for instance, is related to climate change. And most of the things that are happening this year, things that have been happening in the past few years are all interconnected. And they are all due to human activity and the way we look at things. So after 15 years working in the art and technology sector, I think, or I believe that it's time for me to start looking at other approaches and other ways of thinking and other processes and topics that I think are much more important, and that embrace it, they embrace, they allow me to study with this new approach. They allow me to study and to interpret the changes we are going through right now. But it also allows me to support the people, support and promote the people who are paving the way for the creation of better systems, better infrastructures, and better structures. And it also allows me to contribute to make people think about new way of doing things, which I think is very important for the times we live in. So, I don't know, I'm not counting again the time.
No, there are so many things that you're, so many topics you're touching, and thank you for telling so much, like to tell, sorry?
Maybe we can get, because I have so much to say, but maybe we can get into...
Yeah, like I was thinking, like if we can use, for instance, like a keyword to say, like, is it maybe participation, something that is relevant for you in what you're looking for? Because before I was thinking really, as you said, rethink, restructure is something that it's done, has to be done together. And then you bring the example of Gilberto Esperanza, which it's incredible work, required a lot of skills, and it was participating, or it was using tools like technology and participating with nature in somehow. What is, you think, the core, a word, a concept that we should embrace or look for in our practice?
Well, participation, for me, it has been always really, really important, but I think it's becoming more important with this sort of change that I'm navigating, I will say. So I personally am opening up, so to start with, I'm opening up my practice as a curator to participate. I'm maybe going to touch something that we discussed before. I'm a curator and a producer, cultural producer, but I have always had some sort of like difficulties to call myself a curator, because when I think about myself, I think more as an organizer or as an architect, just putting the puzzles together, and facilitator, making things happen. And in my practice, for instance, in Mexico City, the first year that I put together the event, I opened up the curatorial process, and I brought in a few Mexican curators to curate the project. So I just built it's a forum. So I built the infrastructure, I found the funding, everything. But then I was like, I don't want to impose anything. I want people to participate at different levels, from curating, from running workshops, from everything. So in my own practice, participation is key. And also, when you were talking about Gilberto Esparza, Participation is also key for him. All the projects that he does, he works with scientists, with engineers, with designers, with many people, but also the local community has a really important part of his work. So he's not the type of artist genius that works in his studio and then this is the artwork. He develops the artwork with the local community where he's going to be working, from kids to non-artistic audiences, and that is how he's able to exchange knowledge with people and disseminate his learnings, his ideas. So yes to participation in all levels. And for instance, the project I'm running in Mexico this year is all participatory. It's about dance. So we're going to be exploring the social, cultural, and educational possibilities of dance. And we're going to be developing the project with the students from a theater BA, theater, music, dance, choreography, with non-artistic audiences, with people from different ages, from kids to elderly people. So like broadening the ages, broadening the groups, and making everything we do with people and for people. It's just not about us creating art. It's about
the object, no?
Something else.
Yeah, that's as a student. I mean, reading your article, making research, it's all about, you know, shifting the paradigm of art. And when you say like to what extent an artist can renounce to the authorship of a work, and what is the consequence of it, what to what extent we can call an action, an event, art. Those are for me really huge question. And I was wondering, like if it comes to, if it becomes collaboration, participate, is it art, an artist, a cultural agent, a ground? Because also it's, okay, there's the paradigm, there's a system, and you were talking about discovering new system, building infrastructures, creating, but what like system, it's kind of scary sometimes, no? A word. And so what is, if art is a ground, a field, no? As you said, when you were preparing the first event in Mexico, no? You prepare a ground for others to plant and to make a space. Is it defined? Is something that's going to be closed, or is something that you think can afterwards be self-generating, keep self-generating ideas?
Yeah, you mean in the sort of in the projects that I do, or in general?
Yeah, like that you one start. No, how do I do that? How do I deal with the authorship of an idea, or like how can we visualize it? Because it's tricky, no?
I don't have the right the answers. I'm not an expert, and this is a very tricky topic. I mean, it's really important, and we talk about it because we need time and many discussions to not to get to an end result, because this topic, that I don't think it has an end result. This is going to keep evolving. And you know, when I talk about my practice, I'm not, so it's my personal vision, and I'm not saying that everyone has to open up, or that artists need to work, or cultural producers need to work on social issues. No, there needs to be room for everything. That this is what life is about. We are, you know, we need to find room for everything. But in terms of the authorship or ownership of the work, I'm lucky because I have worked with artists who were willing to, personally, in their personal values, they were willing to open the process. And I'm going to give you another example with an artist that I worked with last year. He's from Quebec, and he's a digital artist. At the time of working with him, he was not so open to open up the process. And the way I work with artists and with anyone is, I need a lot of conversations, a lot of like discussions, a lot of emails to really understand not only the artist, but the human being that is behind the artist and his values. And it took me like a year of discussions with this artist to then come out with what we wanted to do. And he was not very, at the beginning, he was not very open to open up his process. He was more this type of artist who is, this is what I do in my studio and I don't want, and then we managed to find a middle ground to open up the process while he was in Mexico, because I invited him to do a 2-month residency. And then after everything, he was like, thank you for pushing me to open up a bit my practice, because it was very challenging. At the beginning, I didn't know if I wanted to get into that, but I have like discover part of my work and processes and ways of working that I know that I don't want to go into, but also some other parts that I'm really, really interested in exploring. So I don't have a final answer to that question. I'm just saying that I will say that maybe it is time for opening up a bit more the processes and to exploring a bit more in that sense, and just see what you can get out of it. And if you like it, fine. And if you don't, you maybe can continue working as you used to work with. That is sort of, I don't know if I'm answering to your question.
No,
but
no, yeah, because of course we are not. It's a very a big topic, and that's like, it's not about, I think, finding one answer. I think it's about opening channel for everyone to find open other channel, no? So to broader, because maybe that's what we're talking about, is to open up the system, the structure of
mind,
yeah, everything. Yeah, exacto. And I would like to invite also the audience, if you have any question, like just drop it in the chat. And so what, like in your experience, like what we said so far, like what was the reaction of the art institution? Because like to give a tip, or yeah, to give tell us a little bit of the experience, how to open this channel, how do we push it?
You mean in the institutions in general?
Yeah, because it's for instance, I've read a lot, I try to read a lot about social practice, participate art, and there is the question on how to found it, how the galleries and the museum are trying to bring it to the market, no? Even buying leftovers of performances, because you cannot buy the performance. So trying to englobe it in a system. And so how can we think or imagine these two practice, these two way of doing method, let's say, the traditional one and the more open one, to collaborate and to coexist? Or do they have to?
Well, again, I'm not saying that they must do, must collaborate. You know, there is room for everything. And in terms of how I think you are sort of asking how you put together this type of like practices, and
yeah.
how you find the support and the money to run them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is again another tricky question, but in my experience, you know, I'm lucky, because with the institutions that I'm working with, for instance, in Mexico, they are open. In their programs, they have the more traditional art or programs or projects, but they also work with more socially engaged practices. For instance, the project that I have been running in Mexico, from the beginning, it has been supported by the Minister of Culture, by a grant that they run on a yearly basis. And this year, they have introduced a scheme, or a sort of like, more than a scheme, an element in the grant, which is that if the project you do has some sort of social aspect, you have more chances to win the grant. And that didn't happen in the past. So, I mean, they are going to still look at your project, and if they like it, they are going to support it. But if you do run an activity with a social name or a social aspect, it's more likely that you will get the grant. And I find that very interesting, because they have other grants that are not socially related at all. It's just for supporting artists to create artworks, or for touring, distribution. So they have a bit of a range of things. And when, to answer your question, I think this is not just about the institution. It's something that has to be looked as a whole. So looking at funders, institutions, artists, and they need to, or we all need to try to make room for everything. And in terms of the institutions, they were really supportive with what we were doing, and as again, what they have different topics and things. So there are connections and synergies with what we do. And if you're also asking me about how easy is to put an event, well, I have to say that it's very challenging. It has been challenging all my life, but I'm passionate about what I do, and I have been really lucky to get funding. I've been working mainly on funding. In London, we were supported by Arts Council from the very beginning. Then we got some support from companies like Microsoft and Google, although I have to say that I don't like to work with private companies, because they ask you to change your project when they want, and they have other type of values. And I will say that if you want to get into curating or putting together projects, you really need to get really good at budgeting, at producing, and at this negotiating with institutions, because most of the institutions, they don't want to give you money. They want to give you in-kind support, which is fine. But you get to a point where you are just thinking or telling them, hey, I'm bringing you content. And in my case in Mexico, because of the way things are, I cannot charge any money for the activities. It has to be free, all free, which is fine. But then if you want free activities, free content, you need to give me a bit of money to pay for my team properly and to pay artists. This is something I have been fighting for a lot of time. If I put on an event, I want to make sure that I will pay people properly. If not, I don't do the event. I don't do it. And this is something that I'm really fighting really hard in my own events, and when I get invited to things, or when I put together other events. If we want to fight not only to improve the systems, if we want to improve our own sector, which has been precarious for decades, we need to really push for changing things at a small scale.
Yeah, to stand for it. Thank you for sharing, for giving us to Steve. To go back to your interest, what you were talking of, the digital culture, technology, and you said somehow they comes with a cost. And can you talk a little bit about digital culture, like how present it is, how important it is now, how it's shaping our life, and this year of huge transformation? How you seen a way to bring them together and reducing? What are the cost of it? How to reduce them? How you're working on it?
Well, I have to address again that I'm going to respond to your question because it's very interesting, but I also want to reinforce that after 15 years working the art and technology, digital culture. I'm not sort of separating myself from it. To the point that, let me just explain something, to the point that in 2020, I said no to two things, important things. One, I said no to, I'm not going to put on or curate more art and technology exhibitions, and I'm not going to do any more art and technology art productions, and mainly high tech, what I call high tech, which is artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and so on and so forth, because of many reasons, because it's very expensive to put on exhibitions like that. It has a huge impact on the environment. Then the source of the devices, you know, for creating a mobile phone, think about extractivism from poor countries, then we dump the e-waste into the same undeveloped countries. So it's a model that is not sustainable. It's not sustainable, sorry. And so it's very related to my values. But in terms of the digital culture, I don't call it digital anymore, because it's what we are living today. Look at us, we are talking.
The culture, yeah.
It's the way we live, the way we interact, and it is key. But I'm at a point where I see more the sort of the negative. I mean, we all know that during the pandemic, thanks to digital, thanks to virtual, we have been able to communicate, to exchange knowledge, to work, to, you know, to see our family. So of course, there is no question about that. But for me, the problem is more about us. You know, we are not still really thinking about the consequences of what the part of us that we put online. And I just want to explain something that I told Sophia right before the call. Yesterday I was about to get on a meeting, and I was sitting here in the same room, and like seconds before the meeting, I was missing something, and I went to the other room and I was looking for my mask, you know, because I felt that I was like, no, I need to wear my mask, and I was like, sorry, I can't say yes. No, I was like, no way. Like suddenly I thought, like, imagine when this is over, how we are gonna have to relearn how we interact, how we talk, how we touch people, how we love people, how we kiss people. So it's like we are, you know, we are missing, or we have missed, like 2 years of human interaction. So we are going to have to relearn that. And by that time, digital technology is going to be even more immersed in our lives. So I'm really looking into see how we balance that, you know. And
yeah, then actually the question should have been exactly like you were interested in the digital culture, and now how you're shifting away, and how what do we have to place it replace it with, or not. Maybe it's not possible anymore to replace it, and it's not even fair, and because we take a lot of advantage from it. But like in the immediate future, like what can we do? Like what do you think we can do, like today, tomorrow, the day after? We are all here students, we are all exploring, like how, what is like, it's urgent, it's the physicality that urge us now. It's what is it?
you know what happens when you were talking, I was like thinking about something. Like what I will do is pretty simple. I will try to, I mean, now with the pandemic is complicated, although you can do small things like try not to be connected all the time, read books, journaling, go for walks. If you, you know, there are many now urban gardens and stuff that you can do, not maybe if you don't have access to nature because you are in a city, but I'm sure that, you know, where you live, there are these communal gardens or community gardens where you can be in nature and if you can leave your mobile phone at home, don't take it with you, go for a walk, and those are small things that are really, really important, you know.
Yeah.
To compensate the work, the time we are putting online because of work related reasons. So that is very simple thing to do, but I think you need to even force yourself to do them, to don't like be so much immersed in another sort of reality.
Yeah, like exactly, like starting from like again a little bit this obsession on of how when is that we can call an action or a participation art, when is that the art happen? I don't know how to say it, and given the situation, so that a way to survive also to this um, condition, and also take a little action. And while you were talking, I was thinking about you know, in the first lockdown, people make an appointment through social network, social media, to just meet all together on the balcony and clap their hands. Like it's such a like I found interesting in the way that it was really an expression like that happened in a community all together. It was for support, for it was to say I'm here as well, and probably it will be the first time that you really notice your neighborhood, and of course like okay, we clap the ends, but there are people that in this very moment are going through real problems, economic, they lost their job, there are people living in tiny in an apartment. So, but the nice thing is that then this has been created, went also in other countries, and somehow I find it interesting that we could go through the source, reach the source of who started this event, but at the end we don't really care. So can such an event, an action, something that has been recording, we have traces of it, but can it be like a form of art in which people are just participating to something, to visualize it with sound, with their own presence, and or for example, if you think of when we to a manifestation, to a strike, what if like cities and normal people, no, taking action all together in trying to visualize their slogan, and can this be art? Can it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any problems calling that art, but maybe to me, it's more about culture. You know, it's about bringing people like when you were saying about the people getting out of the balconies during the first lockdown, or even with the U.S. elections, like people like getting out of this in the streets and just like doing some sort of like participatory event, like out of the blue. For me, I mean, it could be called art, but I was thinking that maybe I call that more like a culture, you know, or a social action. And some of them can be seen as art because it implies also some other more, you know, I think we need to look at them as a individually. I think it's a mix. It's what, again, we were talking before. I was saying before to Sophia that we need to, I think it is important to expand the notion of art and culture to bring along all these new ways of expression. You know, we all sort of understand what the definition of art, even though I don't like the definition or labeling things. But art is an expression of humanity, of human beings, and when we, you know, in 10 years time, 20 years time, when we look back at all these expressions, we are going to understand just by looking at them what happened in, you know, what was happening in the world at this time. So yes, I think yes, it could be from my point of view, it could be seen as art, as an art expression, as a cultural expression.
Yeah, so we can really maybe start working on our small, like in our own life, on making interaction with others a piece of art in somehow the choice, no, also like to fight, like we say, there is the climate change, like everyone has a like the personal project, the personal urgencies, and then there is the bigger picture, and the bigger picture, maybe there is really a need to do it with someone else, and then maybe from them we can,
yeah.
Like,
I was thinking that I'm the type of person who thinks that your life is a piece of art, you know, and you should work on it. And some people tell me that this is linked to self-development and the work you need to do to become a better person, if you want to say it that way. But your life should be also a work of art, and you need to put attention to it and develop it and take care of it, like you do with your, when you create art, it comes from you as an artist, so it's part of you. So the same with your persona, your life, and the same with society, and the same with the environment. So again, we spoke about this before. My definitions of art and culture are becoming broader and broader and broader, and I don't see the limits anymore, you know?
Yeah. And this is something that it's almost art. I feel like I can understand it. I can understand it. It is somehow within me. I can see it in my classmate, in my studies, and at the same time, it's something that it's kind of hard really to embody it. You know what I mean? Like still kind of a feeling that there is a path he has to go, and then that's connect a little bit to what we were talking before about art education. No, the way like how can it be improved? What is lacking in how our society is forming artists is that's also maybe it's not forming artists, but how it allows someone to walk through.
Yeah, I mean, I think I understand what you mean. It's not just about society. I think it's when you talk about when you study as an artist, I think in general there needs to be more flexibility in academia, or when you are studying a career, and really foster thinking and acting outside of the box. I mean, you need to study theory because it's really, really important to have a base. But it's also, I think it's also important, and even much more because of what we are living nowadays. I think it's really important that they allow you to follow your path, whatever you want to do, and just foster that way of thinking, or at least again try to balance the more theoretical traditional ways of studying, working, with the flexibility of really being really experimental, or being really out of your head in this way, and do crazy things. And that should be also push, or I don't like the word push so much, but foster. And and I think that is really, really important from all angles, from institutions, working with artists, from teachers, from from colleagues, from everyone. And I think this is something that is going to become more and more prominent, not only in the arts, but also in all areas of society, in all sectors.
Yeah. So thank you, and we're running out of time. If someone has a question that would like to drop on the chat, and then if it's okay for you, I would like to conclude this talk with by reading the rethink here, just a few words to leave us with some input on how start again or rethink exactly what we're gonna do next.
Do we have any questions from?
Let's see. I can't really. I have a question, Alexa. Yeah.
Sorry, it was too complicated to write out. First of all, thank you guys so much. I'm an artist and I'm someone who doesn't embrace technology very easily. And one thing I really feel like is because I'm not embracing it, I'm missing out in many ways, mostly on just like being able to build a community and have an audience that you can draw on. So Carmen, I think it's really interesting that you're kind of stepping back from the technology. But I also wonder if people like you are stepping back from it, we're losing that like amazing perspective. And this is not an accusation, obviously, but I just wonder like what you think kind of about the personal implications for artists about embracing or not embracing technologies.
Very good question. Thank you. So I totally agree with you. I mean, agree in the sense that I understand that this sort of situation where, you know, if you are not in the art and technology or in this sort of arena, you are missing out on
yeah, guys, can you guys mute someone? Flores?
Yeah.
Can you mute, please?
Maybe they are not even next to the laptop. Okay. Yeah. So being outside the art and tech or digital culture community, in a way, yes, you are missing out a community of people, networks, funding opportunities, you know, because of the boom of, of the digital revolution in the 2000s. So from that, all the opportunities and funding went up, and they are still like really going up. So I'm just going to give you an example in my case. Yes, there are implications. My decision of sort of detaching a bit, this is something that I'm talking a lot with people. I am losing on opportunities, funding opportunities. I'm losing on people calling me for talks, for projects, for many, many things. So that's what I said before when I was talking to Sophia, that this period of change for me is gradual and it's very slow, and I'm trying to, I'm not disconnecting like full on. I'm trying to, at the same time, to create connections with other people, and also try to keep a balance or try to keep connected with some of the people that I used to work with, to don't be totally disconnected. You know, like I'm Spanish, but I've lived 15 years outside Spain, and at the beginning of the pandemic, I moved to Spain, to the south, and I didn't have any connections here. I used to work with, I have done a project in Barcelona and in Madrid, not the south. So since I'm here, what I've been doing is to call people, expand my network, because I know that it's key for me. Otherwise, I'm losing job, I'm losing income, I'm losing connections. So for an artist, it's the same thing. I mean, my question for you is, will you be interested or willing to get into technology, to explore your practice through technology? Or why is your sort of personal situation with technology?
Is that an actual question or hypothetical?
A question.
I would love to. I fight with it. I'm trying to embrace, I'm trying to learn. And then it's interesting to hear your perspective. I feel like I'm, 15 years behind, right? So you're already like, been there, done that, moving on.
What do you do? Can you tell me more about what you...
I don't want to make this about me.
Please go.
I'm a photographer and my practice is very traditional. What I photograph isn't traditional, but my practice is. And now I study at the KBK as well. That's how I know Sophia. And I'm trying to learn new technologies, embrace, the learning curve is big, but the opportunities are out there, but it always becomes easier to go back to what you know. And I feel like I've watched the world around me, go like this. And I'm like, oh shit, man.
Well, I will say that, I don't know, if I will, encourage you to try out technology. You can even get a grant to collaborate with someone that you like. You know what I will do? I will try to get a collaboration, if possible, a grant or through your university to put you in a collaborative project with someone who is working already in technology. So you can create something together and at the same time learn from that person's practice and see how you feel about it. I think especially with photography, there is so much to do with technology that maybe is not so high-end technology, but to start with maybe with other like basic forms of technology. And I think especially for photography, the results can be like really beautiful and really meaningful. And again, something that I recommend is, it doesn't matter, like technology is already, it's another tool. It's just another tool, another material, another canvas. Just don't forget about the meaning. Don't forget about why you are doing what you are doing. Forget about, it's not forget about the technology. You need to learn to use the technology, but the most important thing, at least for me, is what you want to do. Why are you doing what you are doing? Why it's important for you? Why it's connected to you? Think a lot about like inside of you. Why are you doing that? And then you think about the process, and then you think the tools that you're going to be using, so that it's not that comes after, but I think you really need to nurture the concept of the project, the meaning of the project, and the values of what you are trying to convey. So I will say yes to go for technology if you have the opportunity. I don't know how old are you. I'm 43, so I'm probably much older than you. And I'm a person who likes to explore everything, and I have explored already so much about technology that I feel that it is time for me to explore something else. But I'm not against technology. I think there is a world out there to discover with technology. The only thing is, again, try to be true to your values and to your, to who you are. That is all.
I needed to hear that today. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that was really, really nice. And I think it has a meaning for everyone. And we have come to the end of this meeting, this talk. I really would like to thank you, everyone who joined today. And I really would like to thank you, Carmen, for being so generous in sharing the insight on your practice and your thoughts. And you can find this talk registered on and broadcast on PIP TV in this afternoon. And let's just keep on going with what we are doing and enlarge
with life, but that is already enough.
Yeah. This is a lot. This is a lot that we have to do. Thank
You
you.
need to take good care of yourself, everyone. Take really good care of yourself.